Okay, so we have as always a Friday Gishmak Daf. Not only because Amud Aleph is short, but there's some Gishmak and Yonim. But anyways, just to finish off the previous sugya, we started on the bottom of Laman of Beis. That's where we're starting, 4 lines up from the bottom. So we were talking about this guy who goes over to a Levi and says, by the way, I have some of your meiser in my hands. I'm not in my hands specifically, but in my property, I have your meiser. So all back and forth, what did he mean? So the end, the Maskanas of Gemara was that are we concerned that nobody took off Trumas meiser, right? Meiser goes to the Levi, and then the Levi has to give from that Truma to the Kohen. Nobody's allowed to eat. Well, the Levi's not allowed to eat until the Trumas meiser is taken off. So how do we know that the Trumas meiser is taken off? So we don't know. So therefore, if it's a small amount, we're chayshid that it wasn't taken off. If it's a large amount, since he knew about that large amount, therefore we're not concerned that the Trumas meiser wasn't taken off. So the Gemara says, so now who took off the Truma? Who gave the Balabayas Rishus to take off Trumas meiser? Meaning what's supposed to happen, he's supposed to take the meiser, give it to the Levi, and then the Levi takes off the Truma. Right? Who said that the Balabayas can say to the Levi, hey, I did you a favor. I took off the Truma. I gave you meiser, and I also took off the Truma. And what happens if the lady says, I didn't want you to take off the Truma? Who asked you to do that? Right? So does a Balabas have permission to do that? So the Gemara answers in. Yes, he does. And Abalaza ben Gamla, it's Abalaza ben Gamla. The Tanya Abalaza ben Gamla, v'nechshav lachem Trumas. It says, and you should calculate your Truma. On to Amud Aleph now. The state meaning true masim is plural. So the state true masim custom davar.
Yaakov, we could just make a shidduch over here. Baron's holding it, or Anikel, you're holding an Anikel.
Oh yeah, I'm holding. Yeah, Taka. I forgot. I wasn't thinking I'm holding. Yeah. Oh, I didn't see. He's holding an Anikel.
I don't know. I don't know if he's holding a boy or a girl.
It's an Anikel.
It's an anicle. So we both got an anicle. Okay, so you're making me feel old. That's what you're saying. Okay, and not that you're older, Baron. You're young. Yeah. Yeah. So b'shtei trumas akasa medaver. The pasuk's talking about 2 different trumas. Right? It says trumas in plural. Achas truma gedoyla, achas trumas meiser. One is truma gedoyla, one is trumas meiser. Kishem she truma. Just like Truma Gedoyla, you take it with estimation, and you could also take it in your head. Trumas Meiser, the Truma of the Meiser, meaning the Truma that the Levi has to give off. Nitelas Ba'aymed, it could also be taken with evaluation, and Uvamachshava, and with thoughts. Now that we just stop what that means exactly. There's no shear for Truma in the Torah. Truma, what you have to give to the Kohen is a tiny amount, right? That's all you have to give to the Kohen. So the Rabbanon said it's either a 40th, a 50th, or a 60th, but Me'ikar Adin is just a small amount. So that's what it means. So Aymed is just you just estimate or evaluate how much you need to take off, right? And Machshava means you don't have to physically separate it. You could just put it in your head that that apple in the corner of my closet, that's going to be true, and that's enough. So he's saying that the same way you could do that, because so the same way you could do that for regular truma, you could do that for trumas meiser. Truma gedoyla. In the same way a balabayas gives truma gedoyla, he could also do trumas meiser, right? Because obviously a balabayas has permission to take off truma. That's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to give it to the kohen. So the same way he has permission to take off truma, he also has permission to take off the truma that the Levi has to give.
Is challah the same thing? Me'ikar Adin. There's no shear, yes. Right? That's really the Rabbanan.
Me'ikar Adin, yes. So it's very good that you said that. So first of all, before that, when it says it's with Aymed, so it's really a big machlokes b'shainim here. Are you mechuyev to do it by Aymed? Right? Meaning some Rishonim say that you're allowed to do it. You don't have to give a specific measurement for truma. You're allowed, but you're allowed to do non-specific measurement. Some Rishonim say that you're mechuyev to do ba'aymed. You're not supposed to take off any specific. Right? Rashi holds that you're supposed to do with the Rabbanon. He says Echad Mechamishim, etc. Right? But other Rishonim say you're mechuyev to do Oimid. Okay, that's one. So two, I discussed it this morning in the Chabura. That we have, Mamish had this shaila today with a lady with Afrashas Challah. It's the equivalent of Truma, right? The Challah is supposed to go to Kohen. This lady forgot to take off Challah from her Challahs. Okay, that's common. So normally we tell, okay, take the Challahs, put them together, and take off Challah now, even after they were baked. This lady gave away 2 Challahs to a what do you call it? She gave it away to like one of these tzedakah giveaway things. So she said, how am I supposed to take off challah from those challahs? So I told her, without knowing for sure, and that's why I'm a bad boy, that just take it off now, without physically, meaning have in mind that the challah that they're taking off that you're taking off here will suffice for the challah from that person has in their house.
Hopefully that wasn't Yatz Nura, huh?
You hope, yeah. So, but whatever, that's today's daf, right? You could take off the truma without having the truma near you. So when I looked into it a little bit, so we don't have this issue because challah, if you don't take off challah on Pesach by night from the matzahs, so it's a derabanan. But in Eretz Yisrael, if a guy forgets to take off challah from his matzahs, so he has a problem because it's an issur. Your mama's fixing your food. So he says one of the eights is there is that the rabbi of every city should take off challah on behalf of everybody in the city who did not necessarily take off challah. Right? Based again on this
Erev
Gemara.
Tashila?
Sort of like Erev Tashilin, but he's taking off challah. Oh, the challah is nowhere near it. Right? Because you got challah in a guy's house 10 minutes away from here. Doesn't make a difference. If you have it in mind, you have it in mind. Right? Yeah. Anyways, okay, so that's that sugi. Then we have another major halacha that's learned out from this Mishnah. Hameniach Peres, Lias Mafresh and Chuma Umaisis, right? So a guy leaves Peres to take out Chumas Umaisis, meaning the people that are very responsible with their Meiser Ksofim. That's the equivalent that we have nowadays. So a lot of people, what they do is the minute they get in a paycheck, they automatically take 10% and put it into a different account. Like this, they're covered. Right? So they did essentially the same thing. A guy would bring home some fruits and he would leave the fruits in like a corner of his house. Right?
People don't just still do this today.
Yeah. If you it would be nagaya, yeah. You put it there and then you say that all the trumas and mices that is coming off, right? It goes onto those fruits. Right? But now the question is, how do you know those fruits still exist? Meaning you put it into your cabinet, you put a couple of apples or your refrigerator. You put it in a bag marked, this is going to be my trumas and mices. Do you have to go check your refrigerator every time that a kid didn't come steal the apple?
So that gets
or can we just say there was a chazaka? What?
That gets complicated. Some people are makbid. They bring everything home, they finish all the shopping, they put everything in a corner, and then they take on everything before they put it away, put it in the fridge, put it whatever. Because otherwise it gets really complicated.
Correct, but the shaila is, are you mechuyev to check the fridge every time? Or can you just say that there was a chazaka? So that's what the Gemara is saying here. Right? Now, this plays into a lot of situations. So again, hameniach peres lias mafresh and chuma maises, or mais lias mafresh and ma'aser sheni, or money from ma'aser sheni, because what they do with ma'aser sheni was you took ma'aser sheni is you took the ma'aser, the fruits that you're supposed to bring up to Yerushalayim to eat, and then it's too hard to bring up all the fruits, so you put it onto money, and the money gets kedusha. You bring that money to Yerushalayim and you eat, and you buy fruits in Yerushalayim or meat or whatever you want. So if he separated money, mafresh alein becheska shehein kayomen, you could be mafresh them with a chazaka that they're kayim. Im avdu. But if they were lost, then you have to be chayshish me'es la'es for 24 hours. Meaning, you get to the fridge where you have your apples waiting there, and you're being mafresh truma, and then you get there, and what do you know? There's no apples there. So now what? How long do we say that anything that he separated on these apples is no good? So Rebbe Elazar says 24 hours. Before 24 hours, then it's a problem. I'm sorry, it's not a problem. Only within the last 24 hours does he have to take off truma. After that, before that, it's not a problem. Now, I'm not sure, where does 24 hours come from? Why would you think 24 hours? We're going to see on the Ahmed Bays that there are shitas that say, hey, if you got to the fridge and there was no apple there, that means all the truma you gave, based on this fruit being in your refrigerator, is no good. Right?
Well, why is it any different than the machlekes v'shamay beis by bedikas?
Like Vestas?
Yeah, well, by bedikas, kataris.
It's the same thing. I think it's the same thing. I just don't know what the source is for why 24 hours. Right? Okay, whatever it is.
Because
but the point is that there is a chazaka.
No?
It's a chazaka me'ekara, correct.
So that lasts until a certain point. The question is, what's the point?
Right, that's right. So we're saying 24 hours. The last up to
24 hours is a chumrah. It should really be from now. The machmir to go back 24 hours. That's the whole part of media.
Yeah, right here. Anyways, Rabbi Yehuda says, this is a new din. This is a new din, and this is a major thing learned out from this next din. The shloisha prakim vaytkim esayayin. 3 times a year you have to check your wine. Why? Meaning because wine turns into vinegar, right? So since wine turns into vinegar, so you can't be mafresh trumas and maisus on your wine. So how often do you have to check it? So 3 times a year you have to check the wine. When there's wind, when there's matzei sukkis, when the east wind starts blowing, or it's a smother, and when you start seeing the smother, that's like the stuff that grows before the grapes get there. And when water gets into the grapes that are not ripe, so it's called baiser, which is sort of like water gets absorbed into the grapes, and therefore they expand. That's called baiser. So those 3 times of the year is when you have to check to make sure. I guess they knew scientifically that at those times of the year, there's a higher chance of vinegar, of the wine becoming vinegar. Now, there was a tshuvas called Mishkanas Yaakov, right? Now, I didn't chop that he has this from this Mishnah, but I was washing dishes today, so I had to put on the shear. I said, I'll put on the shear, and I listened to Rabbi Raz, and he said that I don't have a Mishkanas Yaakov here, but there's a famous Mishkanas Yaakov. How often do you have to check things? Meaning bugs. What's the percentages that you have to check, right? Or do you have to check at all? Why should I bug check? Who says a check? The majority is that there's no bugs, at least depending on the types of foods. But on most things, the majority is that there's no bugs. So what percentage do you need in order to have to check for bugs? Mishkanas Yaakov, which is the sock that the velt goes with, says 10%. Right? And his raya.
Who is the Mishkanas Yaakov? Who is the
Mishkanas Yaakov was not that long ago. I forgot what was his name. Was he Chabad?
Why 10%? Why
so he decided 10%, but he's saying that this that you see, that you need to check things every once in a while, is mamish from this Mishnah. Why do I have to check if my wine turns into vinegar?
Yaakov, he's basically
what
saying
happened to the
Basar
chazaka?
Roy.
What?
He's basically saying Basar Roy by saying 10%.
Oh, yes, we're going, but it's more than right. It's a miyut. He calls it a miyut hamatzui. Needs to be checked. That's a minority, but it's a minority that's possible. So he calls that 10%. Other places can call it 50%. Mishkanas Yaakov says 10%. His raya is from this Mishnah, because why should I have to check my wine 3 times a year? Right? Twice a year, once a year. Why 3 times a year? Right? Elamai. The reason is because every once in a while you're mechuyev to do some sort of checking. So that's why. That's where he gets. I don't know exactly how he gets the 10%, but this is the proof that you have to check.
This Gemara is explaining is when you have reason to believe that the reality changed. That's what Rashi is saying. And if you have no reason, that's why The Mat Ephraim says you check your talus. Rosh Hashanah, you don't check it the rest of it. You never have to check it again.
Yeah, and Hanami, you're right. So you have to know, but yeah, and you're right. But you do see, what you do see in the Mishnah is if there's a chance, even if it's a small chance of something changing, then you have to check.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is. I'm not a farmer or a vinter. I don't know what they do, but it seems like that's when things change at these kufas.
Yeah, right. And Hanami. So therefore, there's enough concern, even though it sounds like the majority are going to be okay. Still, you have to check it. Right. So that's where he learns that it's 10%. So that's where the shotness thing is right. Why are we checking suits for shotness? There's no 10% of suits having shotness. There's no way. So then the question is how you calculate the 10%. And then Ramosha writes, since it's easy to check for shotness, so you might as well do it anyway. Why not? But the point is that from this Mishnah, you see that when there's some sort of reisa, then you are mechuyev to do some form of checking. Okay, but that's the big thing. Okay, my me'eslei. So we said that if you have a chazaka that your fruits are still there, or that your money was there for meiser, so then what happened is the meiser got messed up. So then you have to wait. Anything me'es la'es is no good. So Rabbi Yochanan me'es la'es shel bedika. Rabbi Yochanan says that it's me'es la'es from when you checked, meaning when you go to your refrigerator to see if your apples that you're separating truma on is there, and then you see that they're not there, or your money for your meiser, and you think it was there and it's not there, so then you are mechuyev. Anything that was mechulul onto in the last 24 hours is no good. Right? That's the way Rabbi Yochanan says it. Rabbi Lazar ben Antigonus, I'm a Mashum Rabbi Lazar ben Rabbi Yanai on Talmud Beis now. Me'es leishal hanacha, total different shot. He says the only time that it only works for the 24 hours after you put the money, or 24 hours after you put aside the fruits to make truma on it. After that 24 hours, anything you did is no good. So total opposites. Right, Rebbe Loza in the Mishnah says that everything up until the previous 24 hours is good. You can consider it truma. And who was the other shita? Rebbe Loza ben Antigonus. That was Rabbi Yochanan. I'm sorry. Rebbe Loza ben Antigonus says no. Only the stuff from the first 24 hours works. After that, everything is no good. Right. So two total opposites. Tanaz is going to ask.
Here again, we have another two Rebbe Lazars saying Pshat and Rebbe Lazar in the Mishnah.
Oh, right. Very good. So we have to say, right, Rashi says, one second, where's the Rashi? Where's the Rashi? It's the next Gemara too. It's in the next Gemara. Okay, Tanan. Im Avdu Hareza Choshesh Me'es Leis. So the Mishnah says that if it gets lost, so that makes sense. What does it mean? From the last 24 hours, from the last time you checked. It shouldn't be when the Mishnah says it should say ad eis leis. Meaning he says the Rebbe Lazar ben Antigonus says that all your trumas and meisers only work for the first 24 hours after you put it there. After that, it doesn't work. So that shouldn't be hareze choshesh me'es la'es. It should be ad me'es la'es. Right? Up until me'es la'es, your stuff is good. After that, it's no good. So it should say that. You should have said that's a kasha. The Gemara says it's a kasha. So we know that kasha doesn't mean a tiyufta. Kasha means it's a kasha, but it doesn't mean that his opinion is shlugged up. Okay, fine. Divrei Rebbe Lazar. So Rebbe Lazar says it's only for the last 24 hours. Some Rebbe Lazar, Chalukan alav chaveirav al Rebbe Lazar. Right? Rebbe Lazar's friends were chaylik on Rebbe Lazar. So what's going on over here? Right? So Rashi says, where's the Rashi? Why can't I find the Rashi? Oh yeah, the Rashi. It doesn't have a
There's no Dibra Mascha.
Yeah, right. Rebbe Lazar ben Pedas, the Gemara of Rebbe Lazar ben Shamua de Masnisen ubraisa. Meaning there are two different Rebbe Lazars. One is Rebbe Lazar ben Pedas. One is Rebbe Lazar ben Shamua. Right, so different people. Either way, some Rabbi Lazar Chalukin
It's
of
the
Chaver
fourth
Rabbi
Rebbe
Lazar.
Lazar within 8 lines.
That so who are the first two? He doesn't say.
No, the first two the Gemara said. Rebbe Lazar ben Antigonus and Rebbe Lazar ben Reb Yamai.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know all the Rebbe Lazars. I don't have a scorecard. Yeah, but anyway, so Amar Rebbe Lazar, Chalukin, Allah Chaver Rebbe Lazar, they disagree with the Tran mikvah shenimdad v'nimtza chaser. If you have a mikvah that was measured, and then you found that it was chaser, kol ta'ira shenaso agabav lemafreya, anything that became tar retroactively, whether it's in Rishus HaYachid, where we normally say a suffix tuma is, we know this from a Saita, right? That a suffix tuma is Tameh. Bein Rishus HaRabim, where we know suffix tuma is tar, Tameas, they are Tameh. Right? So Gemara says, so what do you see from this? That they told everything is Tameh all the way back. So Pshita, the Chalukin, right? Gemara says it's Pashut that they disagree. They're saying that anything that used in this mikvah forever is no good. So of course they're going to say that any trumas and maestros is going to be no good if it's missing. When I answer is the same with my lemafreya me'es leis. Maybe lemafreya just means me'es leis for 24 hours. Kamash malon, that it means for more than that. Right? Okay. So that's my father's one of my parents. You know this meiser? In the foam place mikvah about. My father once walked in Stam to check on the mikveh. I don't know why. He was walking home from yeshiva or something, and the plumber was there, and he almost totally emptied the bar on his own. No rabbi was there. The bar of the rain, because he had to. It was a leak, and it's a
slightly different version of that one.
Okay, which way are you gonna go?
Mine involved politics.
No, obviously there's gonna be politics, but. I'm sticking to the halacha part of it.
Yeah.
So
the plumber was pumping out the wrong one. He was off by like 1 or 2 more inches. Off. It would have been no mikveh for the women.
They had to get Rav Bick involved, and then he mattered it. Lamaisa Rav Bick mattered it, but it was not. I mean, how did they know what was going on before that in the mikveh? So I mean, with Siyata D'Shmaya, I'm sure it was fine.
He said he found out because the bar is supposed to smell terrible because it's rainwater. It's dirty, but it was crystal clear. One of the buyers says they found a crack that was getting filtered.
Right. Yeah, so that, okay, whatever it was, but that would have been a big shiloh. But anyways, fine. Okay. So those are the
Were there any other
parts.
mikvahs back then? There was nothing, right? Woodmere didn't have?
I don't think so. Yeah. That was back when Farakaway was king.
Yeah, Woodmere was only built in like the early 80s.
Yeah. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda and Begimel Prakim, right? So he says it's 3 times a year that you have to check your wine, right? And for that it didn't turn into vinegar. So Tana, Bekidum Shomaytzeh Chag Shel Tekufa. What it meant, meaning, so one of them was after Sukkot, but that's only when Sukkot is late, unlike this coming year, Bez Hashem, right? Meaning it's when it's so late, so then after Sukkot is already this east wind. But if it's an early Sukkot, like this is going to be this year, so then it doesn't apply because I guess it's still summer or in that kufa. There's 3 times a year that you could sell the tfuah even before the time of planting, which means the time that people normally start buying things. Ubashasa zera, and even during the time of plantings. Ubapraisa Pesach, and before Pesach. Ubashloisha prakam noichin say yain, and it's 3 times a year you could sell wine. Ubapraisa Pesach, when it's coming close to Pesach. Ubapraisa Tzeres, and before Shavuos. Ubapraisa Chag, and before Sukkot. V'shemen, and shemen me'atzeres ve'elach can be sold. Okay, so there's times during the year that you're allowed to sell the grain and wine. Okay, so where it says Lamai Hilchos, of course, well, why can't you sell it? Well, what halach are you teaching us here? We're talking about partners, meaning if one partner sees that the stuff is going to start taking a loss, then he has to then he's allowed to sell it without getting a hold of his partner. Let's say his partner's overseas and he can't get a hold of him, so then he could sell it. Okay, so what happens after this time? Every day is considered the time, meaning we don't want it to take a loss. So therefore he's allowed to sell it even if his partner's not around. Fine. Now we get into some agarata. When the shemesh would rise, right? And Hashem made a very appointed, literally is translated, a strong east wind. It's such a strong wind that it sort of makes what do you call it? Tlamim, furrows. It looks like it's making furrows in the water. Yeah. Right at the end of Yaina, when the sun beat down on Yaina and he fainted, right? So, so there it's also referring to the east wind. So there, the east wind actually was bad. It made it hotter, not colder, right? Meaning the Gemara with that it's blowing the water and making furrows in the water. So that sounds like it's making it cooler. Here it seems to be making hotter. When the east wind blows, it quiets down all the other winds. Right? So Rashi says in the summer, the Ruach Kodim is warm. What it does is it counteracts the winds coming from the other directions. Right? And therefore it's has a strength to it, but it's there to counterbalance the other, right? Like the kickers, when they still do that? The kickers, they lick their finger and put up their finger to see what. I never understood what exactly that does, but anybody know what I'm talking about? It's only a sports mishigoyim.
No, it's not just a sports thing. The snipers, they have to do the same thing. They have to measure winds so that they know what the difference is going to be.
So they lick their finger and they hold it up and they're figuring out where's the east wind, the north wind, the south wind.
They feel which way the wind is blowing. They have to compensate. Yeah, when you shoot an arrow versus a gun, you shoot an arrow, it drops down, so you shoot up a little bit because you have to compensate. Wind is the same thing.
Okay, but you have east winds and north winds and south winds and yeah.
William Tell's son was very makbid in that, how the wind was going. We hoped his father was.
Okay, I don't know who that is, but all right.
No one knows who William Tell was, Ryan.
Oh, William Tell.
Yeah.
Wasn't he
yes.
The archer with an apple on his son's head?
Yes, yeah.
But did he tell or not?
Very good. There you go. Okay, so anyways, that's what the east wind did. It counterbalanced the other winds. Vainu d'chsiv, asher bigodecha chamim v'hashket eretz midarim. When your clothing are warm, when the south of the earth is quiet. Yeah, right. It's funny. This is for you, Gershon. You know how many women asked me in the last hour if they could do laundry now so that the thing is dry before Shabbos? Had a few of those. Like Pong today, right? So here we go. It's because it's a pasuk, and in today's daf that it's drying up the clothing. Yeah. Okay. Amar of Tachlifa, Amar of Chista, Amar of Chista. Emasab b'gedecha chamim. When are you begadim going to be warm? B'shashe hishkit eretz midarim. When it gets quiet from the south. Sheb'shashe min hasheves. When it blows, when the east wind blows, mishasekes kol haruchos b'vaneh, it quiets down all the ruchas from in front of it. Okay, exactly what that means, I don't know. Rav Huna v'Rav Chista havayasi. Rav Huna and Rav Chista was sitting. That is a major, for those that like to talk Lashon Hara, you have a major kula in Hilchos Lashon Hara coming up here. Rav Huna v'Rav Chista havayasi, they were sitting. Chalav alzel geniva alayo. Geniva was chalav alzel, means he was passing by. Geniva. Amar chad lechavri nekum mekamei the bar uryan, who let's stand up because he's a bar uryan. He's somebody who learns. He's a talmid chacham. Amar leidach mekamei palga nekum. Before a guy who's a bal machlokes, we should get up. Tell me, is this not in Yonah? This, if this wasn't a Friday, we could sit on this now for a half hour. Mamish, right? He's a talmid chacham, and the other one said, he's a bal machlokes. Do not stand up for him. right? Because he used to fight with Mar Ukva. Anyways, so Adahachi Asa Iu Lagabayo. So when it came, but whatever it is, you see from here that if it's a tzairich, you could say, sounds like it. If it's a tzairich, you could say the Lashon Hara. Adahachi Asa Iu Lagabayo, and you could say Lashon Hara about Machlokes too, right? Adahachi Asa Iu Lagabayo. They came. Hold on a second. Yeah. So Adachi also he came by them. This Geneva came by them. Amalu, he said to them, so what are you being Isaac in? Amrulay Baruchas. We're talking about wind. Hence the Gemara is bringing this Gemara. Amrlahu, Hachi Amar Rav Chana Barava Amar Rav, Dalet Ruchas Minashvis B'chol Yom. There's 4 ruchas that blow every day. Veruach Tzvainis Minasheves Im Kulan. And you always need the north wind to blow with them. Shalmalei Kain, if not for the north wind blowing, the winds would destroy the world. And the south wind is the most difficult. The Mali Ben Netz, this malach called Ben Netz, Mamida, the whole world will be destroyed from it. Shenemar, from your bina, from your understanding, the nets is going to stick out its hands, and he's going to spread out his arms all the way to Taman, to the south. Okay, so there's that. So that story of what do you call it? But now they also lied to him. He asked them, "What are you being Isaac in?" They should have told him, "We're being Isaac, whether we should stand up for you," right? And he didn't. They said they're talking about the ruchas, right? So Rabbi Razner said over, it's a good thing this just took me a while. I got to hear some interesting Zachen, right? He said over that the Sam Sofer says ruchas can be like, what we're learning in Mesilas Yesharim, ruach, taiva, ruach, gaiva, ruach. These are all considered ruchas. So that's what they said. He misunderstood what they were saying, but they were talking about ruach kavaya and all that. It's very interesting. He didn't say where the Sam Sofer was from, but anyways, yeah, fine. Rava, another story. Rava and Nachum Bar Yitzchak Havayasi, they were sitting. Have a cholif also Rav Nachum Bar Yaakov. Rav Nachum Bar Yaakov was passing by. The Yosef Beguraki the Dava. He was sitting in a wagon that was made out of gold. I'm sorry. Uparasales Sarvala Dekarti, and it was spread out on him how do you call it? A coat that was karti is like greenish. Rava went to see him. He didn't go to him. Because maybe he's from the Reish Galusa. Rava needs the Reish Galusa. I don't need the guy from the Reish Galusa. Meaning they didn't think he was somebody chashuv. So the guy's from the Reish Galusa. Rava needed something in the Reish Galusa. Let him go. I don't have to go. The Rav Nachum Bar Yaakov, when they saw there was a Rav Nachum Bar Yaakov and it was a legit guy, not somebody from the Reish Galusa. Reish Galusa was just like the mayor or the governor or the president of the Golus. So Azul Gabe, he went to him, Gali Ladare, and he revealed his arm, Amar Shad Yanashiv, and as saying that the wagon there's hot wind is being blown. The wagon is being blown by this hot wind. So therefore, I think it means that's why he rolled up his sleeves, because it was hot, right? Anybody's down here, anybody's welcome to come down here. It's 96 degrees, but there's a wind. There's definitely a wind. In the shade, it's all right. Fine. So Amar Rava, Hachi Amar Rav, Ishama Pelas Boy. This is a woman. If she sits out with this wind, she's going to end up miscarrying. Shmuel Amar Afilu Margulis Shabayamar Keres Boy. Even a pearl that's sitting in the ocean is going to get decayed. Even the Shikva Zera that's in the womb of an Isha is going to get decayed, right? Meaning normally the Shikva Zera of an Isha gets decayed, right? This is a Shua Sugya, right? It gets decayed after 3 days, which it's interesting because medically they used to say in America 2 days. Then they came around to what the Torah holds, which is 3 days. But here, if the woman goes out into this wind, then her zera will get knocked out after, not her zera, the husband's zera will get knocked out earlier than 3 days, and she won't get pregnant. Fine. All these 3 pshatim, Tarsha one pasuk. Kihu ben So they're going to be Yafri v'Yavra, Pru Ravu from the east wind, etc. Yivash Mekairoi. It says that the makar is going to become dry. Zu makar shalisha. That's referring to the makar of the woman, that the fetus is going to get dried up in Nebuch. It's going to die. That's a miscarriage. B'yechra me'enoi, and the ma'enoi, and the mayan, the water is going to dry up. That's the zera. Who yishsa oitzer kol kli chemda, and it's going to destroy of the storage houses of anything that's good. Zu margulis shabayam. That's talking about pearls that are in the sea. Okay, so they all dash in the same pasuk to tell you the things that could. I don't know if they're disagreeing with each other or they're just each one. Meaning, do these three opinions disagree? It sounds like they don't have to disagree. It could be all of the above. It's final season now for all the kids in school. So all that could be all. Is it 1, 2, 3, or all of the above? I don't know. I think Pshat is all of the above. Amarava. Ede Surahu, the Ede Surah. It comes. I'm sorry, Adi Surah, not Ede. Which means like the people of Surah, the Daiki Kroi, they were very meduik in Psukim. Maiki hu bein achim yafri. What does it mean that from brothers they're going to multiply? Amarava afilu antamar aleph now. Afilu shufsa bekofina demara rafia.
You forgot to
Meaning the
announce
wind.
the Chaim head up. You forgot to announce them.
The who?
Heads up for the Chaim.
Oh, for the l'chaim, yeah, l'chaim. And Gershon, prepare a question so we can push off the hadron. Yeah, so. Shufsa bekafina demara rafia, the handle of some sort of digging implement or instrument is loose, right? Meaning the wind could be so strong that it will even loosen the handle of the shovel. Even like a nail that's in a wall will loosen up. Rav Acha bar Yaakov Amar afilu kanya bekufsa rafia. Even a reed that's in a basket will get loosened because of this strong wind. No questions, Gershon?
No, so it's interesting.
There you go. Yeah. No, he was making a joke. Very good. Okay.
Yaakov, your brother parents was like Billy the Kid. Billy the Kid was 6 inches away from a gun. Parents never went like 6 inches from a bottle of scotch. So.
Yeah.
Why he's never 6 inches away from making a
This one actually is a gun.
Oh yeah.
Very good. Very good. Hadron Allah Kol Aget. Okay. Now, next parak is major. Next